Speaking of areas which do not have to worry about snow tires or wintry conditions, Wayne, I love talking about sports expansion. I've written articles on this. I'm obsessed with it. MLB expansion, but all the four sports leagues. Vegas, Mexico City. So Vegas, for a long time we talked about it as a pipe dream. Lo and behold, we got two sports teams there already, right? We got the Golden Knights and we got the Raiders, because the Raiders are going to end up being in every city at some point or another during our lifetimes. I can definitely see the day where the NBA and MLB are going to expand to Vegas. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. The money is too good. It makes too much sense for me. And, think about the economic dollars now of expansion teams. Like, wow, you can ask almost anything you want. I mean, you can put a $2-3 billion price tag and someone's going to pay it. So let's start off with Vegas. I think they're getting all four sports leagues. Agree or disagree?
I 100% agree, especially as we're just talking about the predominance of the betting industry now. I think for a long time that was the taboo. There were two main things. There was, well, we don't want to be tied in with the gambling industry. And everybody who comes to Vegas as a tourist, they're not going to go to the games. Well, clearly that's not the case. And clearly there's no taboo with the gambling anymore. So I don't think there's anything stopping them getting a baseball team and an NBA team, 100%. And as he said, it's free money for the owners. I mean, it's like, okay, well, let's see. We got 30 guys, and we can ask $3 billion. So it's $100 million for every guy. Is anybody going to vote no? That guy back there? Yeah, on principle, you knew you were going to get outvoted anyway, whatever, right? So, no, I think that you're going to see that within 3 to 5 years would be my guess.
I just can't see how it's not going to happen. MLB has been holding off for so long. And you know what? They were not dumb to do it, because think about the economics of where they would have gotten expansion fees 10 years ago when it was first really being thrown around. Then they did reshuffling of the leagues and everything else. They're due for 2 more teams. And man, now they can ask literally anything they want. They're laughing. The one that's really behind is the NHL compared to all the other leagues. If you think about as far as the value of the teams are there, but the salaries are not, and they're going to be climbing up for sure. Like when your best player is making 12 mil, I think most, and any bum in street clothes in the NBA is making 12 million, this is a problem, So from the economic standpoint, I think the NHL is going to be seeing more rise in revenues, because that's where all the monies are going in sports. The one I'm intrigued with is Mexico City, and I think that's when you make it a really international game. I know it trade restrictions for travel, etc. But they said the same thing about Canada, and we have many teams in Canada here for the sports leagues. And I remember when the NBA came here, I don't really see a difference between putting a team in Toronto, the Raptors, and then putting an NBA team in Mexico City, for example.
I don't either. I don't disagree with you. I think there could be issues of travel. There could be issues of it's going to be a hassle in terms of like taxes and things like that.
Sure.
But I don't know what the reason would be for not doing it. I mean, you're talking about such a huge city, and it's kind of like you put a team in Toronto, you put a team in Montreal. There should be a team in Montreal now, but there isn't. But you make Toronto Canada's team by making them the single team, right?
Right.
We know that Mexico loves baseball. If you put a team in Mexico City, my gosh, I don't know how many people live in Mexico. It's got to be what, 100 million? Something like that.
It's a lot.
It's got to be 100 million. You know what? You make however many people are in Mexico, you instantly make them fans of that team, right? That's the going to be probably the biggest fan base in baseball, concentrated in that one area, right? I don't know how they don't do it. I don't know who the ownership is, but I don't know who's down there that wants to own the team, or maybe even if Major League Baseball might start the team and then sell it after the fact. But yeah, I think it's way too big of a market to ignore.
Imagine you're any MLB player, but especially a Spanish-speaking one. You're sitting down with your agent. It's free agency time. Okay, I can. No offense to any of these cities, but I can go play in Cleveland. I can go play in Pittsburgh. I can go play in Seattle, or I can go play in Mexico City. Where is going to be the most fun for me to go be? I'm going to Mexico City.
Right.
I'm telling you right now, sitting in our weather right now, Wayne, where I don't know every day if I'm going to be shoveling my snow or not. I'm a professional athlete. I can go to Mexico City. I'm going to Mexico City, and I've been to Mexico City, and it is a blast. So, if which of the four leagues you think is going to be the first one to break the hurdle on this? I'm kind of stuck between the NBA and MLB, and I'm going with MLB.
I think you're right. I mean, we know that the NFL has played there a number of times over the past few years. So, but I don't know that the cultural. I mean, not that there aren't Mexican football fans. By the way, 130 million people in Mexico and 22 million in the Mexico City metro area. So, I mean, my gosh, right?
I can buy some
But
tickets.
yeah, I think for sure it will be MLB. What I don't know is where is there a stadium in Mexico City already that is built for that type of for baseball?
Wayne, if they can play baseball in those godforsaken stadiums in Tampa and Oakland, they will put them wherever they have to for the time being in Mexico. I'm sure there'll be a stadium that can house it and they can build them a new one. Because if you're gonna pay $3 billion for your expansion team, what's another bill on the Barbie when you can build another stadium?
I I agree with you, but I don't know that there's. I mean, I don't know what stadium they play in when the NFL plays there. It's one of the soccer stadiums, right?
For sure, yes.
The biggest stadium in Mexico City for baseball is Estadio Alfredo Harp Helú, which is 20,000 seats. So they don't have a specific baseball stadium for that. Now, clearly, there's plenty of money to build the stadium. What I don't know is if there is anywhere in Mexico City proper that you could do it. It would might have to be outside of town, right? But for the time being, at least, yeah, I'm sure there's definitely they could play games and retrofit the other stadium as long as it doesn't mess with whatever other things are scheduled there, soccer and whatever else.
If they're awarded the expansion team today, if they don't start playing for at least 2 years, you can start construction almost immediately on your stadium. You can retrofit the other one in the meantime. I think we can make this happen. It's just a question of whether they're going to do it. But I can't see how you say no to expansion dollars if you're any of these leagues, and it's going to happen. So when Mexico City does get their first team, we're going to replay this episode to say, ha ha ha, we told you so. And Chubba Purdy, who may have gone undrafted, Chubba, we're going to find that out, but Chuba or Chubba Purdy, guy who may have gone undrafted, we will guarantee now he is going to be drafted when the time comes, as long as he stays healthy and somewhat productive. And I bet you he's not going to be the last draft pick either in that draft. So I hope Chubba is going to be sending us a thank you card.